Hello and praise the Lord to each of you, particularly and especially to the family of Calvary Temple of Praise. It's been a few weeks since I came with a little personal message from me to you, and that's what I would like to take this time to do. Is to just give you a little personal message from me, from my heart, as it relates to updating us as as to where we are, in response to our compliance to the COVID-19 guidelines. I know it's been a very difficult time for everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean literally everyone. And I know that it's been an added difficult time for us, especially those of us who miss our time of fellowship, our time of getting together and worship and praise and seeing one another. I know that's difficult as well. But I would like to take the time today to try to just bring you up to date as to what we believe and what we're sensing in our heart will be our approach for the next couple of weeks or so. I think I'll be safe to say that. First of all, I want to just say that it has really been a tremendous blessing to me, to my family, and I know to many of the saints that in spite of the severity of what we're going through, there has been just some pleasant and amazing things that have taken place, in our social distancing orders, but yet at the same time have allowed us to reflect, allowed us to respond, allowed us to appreciate, and allow us to reevaluate, the many blessings that we have from God. And the reason why I'm saying it that way, it is because I believe that that's what this time has done. I believe it has magnified our awareness of how privileged and how blessed and how grace that we have been by God. That this is a very, very abnormal time. This is a very abnormal situation. Just think that if this was life in the norm for us. So this is a time that we are recognizing that prior to this pandemic, we've had more privileges and we've had more opportunities and more blessings than what we could even imagine or even try to even count. Now, we all been put in a position of reflection. We all been put in a position of gratitude. And so I want to thank each of you from what I have heard and what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing that has been your attitude and your approach toward dealing with something that's so abnormal and so far out of the range of anything that we've ever dealt with before. Now, each of you may have your own personal way to view it, but I'm thanking God. I'm thanking God. And I know that we've had devastations, we've had death, we've had layoffs, we had financial, instabilities for people. We've had so many symptoms from this pandemic that people have experienced. And not just physically or financially, but I know emotionally and mentally. There are people rather that I know who were stricken with this disease. There are people that I know that that passed from this disease. But one of the things that you have to know and that has to live within your spirit and your mind constantly is that God is still in control. That's the most comforting thing that I believe that you can hold on to right now. Again, no one knows how long all of this is going to take place. I'll stand before you today to say to you that I still think that some of the wisest things that we can do, number one is that we can be constant and instant in prayer, and the other thing that we can do is to be a realist about obeying the guidelines and instructions of our officials and healthcare professionals. I think that every child of God should be wise enough to follow and take heed to those instructions. I know people have their personal views and their personal spiritual approach to things. You all know our saying around here has been a long time that spirituality does not take us out of reality. And so we still are as subject to calamities, and we're subject to sickness like anyone else. Yes, God is our healer, He is. But at the same time, there's a wisdom that we can use and exercise, and there are precautions that we can take that could minimize, us being subjected to this particular disease or this pandemic. So I want to encourage you in that way. And I want to follow up from something I said to you a few weeks ago. Don't inundate yourself with all of this information because it changes daily. Don't sit around the house and this is your breakfast, lunch, and dinner of you feeding on all of this information. And then, you live in total fear and torment. Okay? I think you ought to be aware of what's going on. I think that you ought to make sure that you do what you know is best to safekeep you and your family. I think that that's what you ought to do. Now, let me get into what I believe is going to be our approach as we see that our government, our local officials, they're relaxing some of the guidelines as to what we are allowed to do and not allowed to do, until they can determine exactly what's going to be the extent of them opening up business, opening up our opportunities to get back into social interactions. They're going to get back into allowing us to reassemble, as a ministry. I do know that Seminole County here, just as of last night, stated that churches can start back having services, but still you have to exercise that 6 foot social distancing guideline. Well, it would be just impossible for us to accomplish that. There's no need of us coming back with that approach because it's not something that we can successfully accomplish. So we're still going to not be having service until we can get into a better place and get better results as to the potential and the possibility of us being together. Now, the other thing I'd like to share with you is that prior to us announcing when we will have our service or resume our services, is that I'm going to be meeting with our senior leadership of this ministry. I'm going to be meeting with our members who work in the healthcare field, and we're going to sit down and we're going to dialogue and talk about what we will have in place as a ministry to be our guidelines for us coming back together. We understand that first of all, that we expect for you to first of all take personal responsibility for your own health care, your own well-being. But what we're talking about is what we would do as a ministry to try to have an approach in place that we think that would give us the best opportunity to have a successful time of coming back together as a ministry. So again, I think it's important for me to express to you that you take personal responsibility for your safekeeping and your well-being as what you feel that causes you to be comfortable in an environment when we come back together. But at the same time, we as a ministry, we have to have an approach as well as to what we would take regarding this. So we'll be meeting here hopefully in the next week or two, I'm going to say, and we're going to sit down and come up with some plans and some approach that we'll take. I also would like to encourage each of you that have the capability to be a part of our Remind app on your phones, because we send out our messages primarily through there, and we can reach each of you in that manner. If you don't have that and you have the capability to have it, it would be very beneficial to you to have that app set up on your phone so that you can get updates as to what we feel and believe is our approach to our services and anything else that may have to do with information that we need to get to you. So I would encourage you to do that, please. Now, we do have the phone numbers for those who don't have that capability because they're just not in that place as it relates to technology. but we do have those who will call those individuals to share with them any update and new information that we need to get to you. But if you have that capability, please do it at least for this time period while we're in this state that we're in right now. So again, I do want to tell you all that we miss you all as much as we're getting all of these responses and these comments we're getting from you. How you send them, they are making their way to us, and we appreciate that. We appreciate your spiritual composure that you are exhibiting in a time like this. Some of you are taking this time to reach out to your brothers and sisters in Christ, to your neighbors, to family members. All of that, I think, is just a wonderful, wonderful thing to recognize and to appreciate. And so again, we're thankful for that as well. But most of all, I believe that God is getting glory out of all of this. I really do. I believe that this is just going to cause the level of glory that we give to Him. I believe that we probably have no way of measuring as how great and how big that is going to be. So again, I know that we won't be assembling together here in the next week or two. I can say almost for certain. I don't know what the schedule is of our state government, our local governments, as to what they're going to keep in place or they're going to relax the rules, but we just want you to know that we will be in touch and we will continue to update you on what we believe is our position, as a ministry. Thank you for your faithfulness in so many ways. Those of you, I won't get there and elaborate that to a great detail, but I want to thank you for your faithfulness and your support and appreciate it very much. Also, let's not forget that next Sunday is Mother's Day. Please remember your moms. Please, show your love and your gratitude to your wives and children. Do that for mom. Husband, do that for your wife. Let's slow things down to where we can reach out and show that gratitude. And then on next Sunday, we will have a message for you that you can access on YouTube, and we'll also have a more formal greeting and an appreciation and expression of Mother's Day to all of our mothers. So again, bless you all, love you all, appreciate you, and we can't wait till we get a chance to be back together in service. God bless you. Thank you.